Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and today we've got a loaded episode. We're going to be diving into some of Trae Young's passionate comments about his desire to finally bring a championship to Atlanta and what OKC's finals run has to do with that, and, considering its relevance right now. And then we're going to break down one of the most intriguing under the radar prospects that Atlanta could potentially select at pick 13, Cedric Coward. We're going to talk about how he fits in with this Hawks roster and what his future could look like going forward. And then after that, we're going to take a closer look at Larry Nance Jr. and his future in Atlanta and whether it really makes sense for the front office to bring him back as a bench veteran piece. And last but not least, we're going to talk about a fan favorite uniform potentially making its return according to some leaks. We're talking about the MLK uniform. So that'll be last, but without further ado, let's get into Trae Young. So, obviously he's no stranger to Atlanta, but his heart will always have a place in Oklahoma, as we all know. The Norman native and former Oklahoma Sooner has deep ties to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and he recently admitted that he will be cheering for them in this year's NBA Finals. But let's be clear, Trae isn't jealous. He is motivated. In an interview with Lauren Williams of the AJC, Young made it known that seeing the Oklahoma City Thunder reach the finals has only intensified his desire to bring that same level of success specifically to Atlanta. Here's what he said at a sponsor event in Oklahoma City. "It's even more motivating for me. I just want to win a championship so bad. But the fact that it's in my city and I'm just watching it now, if you thought I wanted it bad before, it's even worse now. Hopefully we're here playing the Thunder next year, and I'm not having this event here in OKC. So we have this party there in Atlanta. I love Atlanta." It's worth noting that despite back-to-back seasons without a playoff berth and, a ceiling of 43 wins since his arrival in 2018, Trae Young still believes in this Hawks group, especially now that the Hawks at least have a direction and are moving in that way. He pointed to the development of top pick Zachary Risachet, who nearly took home the Rookie of the Year award, just barely losing to Stephon Castle, in the presence of what he called a young, really good core. With Quinn Snyder at the helm and a critical offseason underway, Trae believes that this team is ready to take that next step, whether that be next year or the year after. They're going to at least take a step next year. However, it just depends on how far they get. But Trae really believes in this young core, and I think that's awesome to see. If the passion in his voice was any indication, he's obviously committed to doing it here and not anywhere else. So, without further ado, next up, we're going to be talking about Cedric Coward, a name that may not be on the national radars. Obviously he's been a draft riser in recent weeks, but someone the Hawks should seriously consider with the 13th overall pick. Coward is a 6'6" guard/forward. He played both throughout his college tenure. He played his college ball in the Big Sky Conference, which obviously is a smaller stage, but his production was undeniable. He averaged 7 rebounds, nearly 2 blocks, dished out 3.7 assists a game, all while shooting 56% from the floor, 40% from three, 84% from the free throw line. It wasn't much of a sample size last year, as he did only play 6 games, but he's shown steady progression in his 3 seasons in college, and is only going to get better. He's only 21 years old, and he did also average 18 points a game last year in that small sample size. So that is good to see, and he's been killing it recently in his workouts. So he's really a draft riser and someone that the Hawks should consider. Think of how Jalen Williams of the OKC Thunder was supposed to be drafted, deep into the first round, maybe in the second. But, as scouts really started to pay attention, even Atlanta was super interested in him. But he was ultimately selected before Atlanta made their selection. But he could be the Jalen Williams of this draft class. So kind of think that range, although that's obviously a rare occasion, but it's something that he's kind of comparable to. They put up similar numbers. So the numbers do suggest that Coward is not only efficient, but highly versatile. He plays within the flow of the offense. He doesn't always need the ball in his hands to be impactful, and he offers something that Atlanta really lacks, wings who can shoot and defend. That's something that, obviously we're focusing on moving forward, and these guys are going to progress in their shots, but he could be a great fit immediately. There are some concerns with Coward. He struggled against I guess some quicker matchups defensively when he was put on an island with a guard, and he doesn't consistently create his own shot in traffic. He's also coming off of, as we said, an injury. He hurt his shoulder that sidelined him for the majority of the season, and scouts really are questioning, the level of competition that he faced in the Big Sky. I mean, for good reason. However, I mean, the raw skills and intangibles are undeniable, and it's something that I think the scouts will put to the side when really talking about when they're going to select him. I mean, let's be honest with, Atlanta, they're becoming a better defensive team. However, they obviously can improve in some categories, and this guy's defensive presence and rebounding instincts, as well as an improving offensive game, make him worth a close look. I mean, if he can adjust to the NBA pace, he could offer some immediate depth at the wing, or he could act as a guard and really be a plug and play guy anywhere Atlanta needs him. And more importantly, help patch up some of that leaky perimeter defense that has just started to improve. I mean, at just 21 years old, Coward still has a lot of time to grow. For a team like Atlanta that's, betting big on their youth movement, he could be a low-risk, high-reward asset if he pans out correctly. So now let's talk about some veterans. So Larry Nance Jr. came to Atlanta, obviously, as a part of the blockbuster DeJounte Murray trade last offseason, which also sent Dyson Daniels to Atlanta and 2 first-round picks. I mean, this isn't the topic right now, but what a fleece. Like, as I'm just saying that out loud, it just sounds ridiculous. I mean, shout out to the front office for getting that done. Because, man, this turned out to be an awesome pickup for Atlanta. Not just Larry, but getting the best player in the deal, Dyson Daniels. I mean, while his season was derailed by a hand injury, the 31-year-old forward proved his value when healthy. I mean, he posted a career-high 45% from three-point range and gave Atlanta a, steadying presence off the bench. I mean, not to mention he developed very strong on-court chemistry with Trae Young, and he was very vocal throughout the season and still now about his belief in Atlanta's young core. I mean, he has co-signed Jalen Johnson and Zachary Risa and Dyson Daniels, so many times. He's been very active on social media and, really developing like a bond with these guys, which is super important for their development as they're just getting adjusted to the NBA, and they've got, a co-sign from a guy who played with Kobe Bryant. I mean, that's super awesome. I mean, Nance is expected to become an unrestricted free agent, which is why we're talking about him. The Hawks do hold his bird rights, as they do with all 4 of their unrestricted free agents this offseason, meaning they can go over the cap to re-sign him. I mean, they probably won't need to, but they could use him for front court depth, of course. Especially about, rumors swirling about the team potentially drafting a backup center to pair with Onyeka Okongwu. It'd be we wouldn't really know where his spot in the rotation would be, but, as Larry gets older and kind of falls into like a low-end rotation player with great veteran presence to offer, I think that he would be okay with accepting a role where he doesn't play too often, but he would be a great guy to have in the locker room and can contribute whenever we need him to. So my question for you guys is, should they bring him back? I mean, the answer depends on what the Hawks want out of their rotation. I mean, if they're prioritizing veteran leadership, shooting, and someone who's clearly bought into the culture, I mean, Nance is your guy. But with, limited roster spots and a lot of emphasis being placed on youth, and, I mean, maybe even wanting to play Mo Gay more next season, as he kind of did a good job as the starting 4. I mean, there were obviously problems there, but, it doesn't really makes sense for Atlanta to just completely have him fall out of the rotation once everyone's healthy. So it might just come down to cost and health. Either way, expect his name all offseason to be mentioned in connection with playoff teams looking for savvy veterans. I mean, anyone would be lucky to have Larry. He's an awesome guy, and he's been great since coming to Atlanta. So Atlanta has the inside track. It's just a matter of fit and what the organization really wants moving forward. So let's go ahead and end on a fun note. The MLK City Edition uniforms could be making a return next season. This is, as I'm recording this just broke not too long ago. And according to a recent leak, and obviously, no, this is not confirmed yet, but it seems to be pretty credible, as, there were obviously whispers throughout the league that teams would be going back to City Edition uniforms next season that they've had before, and that's kind of what the NBA was going to do. They're going to rotate for the future. So it seems pretty credible, and it looks like the Hawks will be bringing back the fan favorite black and gold MLK-themed uniforms as their City Edition jersey for the 2025-2026 season. just amazing, awesome uniforms. They were last seen during Atlanta's 2021 season, where they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, had that super cool playoff run, and quickly became one of the most loved designs in the league. I mean, it's classy, symbolic, and powerful. They pay tribute to the civil rights legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was obviously born and raised in Atlanta. And now, just as the Hawks are hoping to return to postseason relevance as early as next year, hopefully as a top 4 seed, there's speculation that they will bring these back, potentially with slight alterations. I mean, obviously they're not going to have the big ugly share care logo in the corner. It's going to be the Y, and it'll look a lot nicer. Maybe they'll clean up some spots, but I guess as a sign of renewed purpose. I mean, this is awesome if this is true. This is looking like a league-wide trend with other franchises reportedly bringing back their former City Edition concepts. But for Hawks fans, this one hits different. A reminder of a team that fought hard, exceeded expectations, and really made history in the playoffs. So if Atlanta is really about to turn a corner, what better way to show it than suiting up in the same jerseys that they wore during one of the most exciting moments in franchise history, and really just pays homage to the city in an irreplaceable way. So that'll do it for today's episode of Hawks Latest. From Treys fire to bring a title to Atlanta after some hard-fought seasons and attempts to under-the-radar draft prospects like Cedric Coward, to veterans like Larry Nance Jr., and even some jersey nostalgia and the potential return of the MLK uniforms. There's a lot to keep your eyes on this summer. As always, I'm Zach Langley. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on Hawks Latest. We're going to be pumping out videos every day like always, and keeping you guys informed as much as we can. So, maybe next season we're not just watching the finals. Maybe we're in them. I don't know. I'm just the messenger. Until next time, go Hawks. Thank you guys for watching.